What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Arman Tsarukyan fires back at Paddy Pimblett. Over the last few days, Arman and Paddy have been going back and forth over who should be next for the title shot. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Recently, Paddy said the following about Arman getting a title fight.
But I understand that I am rank 9 or something, so other people probably are more deserving, but Posh Boy definitely isn't. Little rich boy Arman, showing how desperate he is, offering him £1 million to fight him. Spoiled rich baby, trying to pay the way out of things. That's why he quit when he was making weight in a bath like a little Arman's irrelevant, no one cares about him.
Well, now Arman has responded to Paddy's claim that he isn't deserving of the title shot by writing, "You're a nobody, a trash can at most. Daddy Dana fed you a couple of senior citizens to build your hype. That's all you are, hype. I earned everything in my career. Nothing was handed to me, you bum. Now, you sit your goofy down and wait until daddy tells you what to do." Tom Aspinall starts training camp. After going through months of not knowing when and who he'd fight next, Tom Aspinall has finally kicked off his next training camp. If you followed Aspinall's saga over the last year, and pretty much every MMA fan has had no choice but to do so, you know that he has not fought since July of 2024. But once John Jones finally confirmed he was not going to be Aspinall's next opponent by retiring, well, sort of, the UFC booked Aspinall to fight Tsarukyan on October 25th. Well, more recently, Aspinall's team shared the following clip, which shows that the heavyweight champions camp is officially underway. While Aspinall's camp has begun, as the champion recently noted, it's not like he hasn't been training over the last year. While talking to the media about the matchup, Aspinall said this: "We can expect an improved version of me. I've had a year to train. I've had a year to test my skills and improve, and I'm going to show everyone what that's all about." Who do you see winning this fight? And do you feel that we'll see a finish here? All that aside, Aspinall also recently revealed he has a new tattoo on his neck underway. Alexander Volkanovski sends a warning to Kai Asakura ahead of UFC 319. Kai Asakura is a pretty big favorite on the betting lines ahead of his scrap with Tim Elliott. But recently, Alexander Volkanovski outlined why he could see the rugged veteran handing Asakura his second straight UFC defeat. Asakura has been booked to fight the former flyweight title challenger at UFC 319, which will mark the first time he's competed since he lost to Alexandre Pantoja. Well, depending on what betting line you look at, Asakura is carrying odds ranging from -340 to -270 as UFC 319 approaches. In a recent breakdown of the fight that Volkanovski posted on his YouTube channel, he acknowledged that those odds caught his eye. The featherweight champion also relayed that while he's ultimately picking Asakura to win, he could see Elliott pulling off the upset.
That's a pretty heavy favorite. Like, let's be real. Could easily, I just showed you, you come aggressive, there's going to be times that you could shoot. Yes, there is damage while that's happening. Can he get a finish if he takes down Kai? Yeah, that could happen. The only thing is, I feel like there's going to be a bit of damage done, even if he eventually gets the takedown. So I still feel like Kai's going to win them rounds because of that, or he gets a finish. So I'm going purely on damage here. So I'm going to lean towards Kai, but I want you guys to remember, heavy favorite, you know what I'm like with underdogs. And you can see an upset here. Well-rounded, experienced guys like this, I'm telling you what things that you need to do.
Chances are Volkanovski isn't the only person who had their eyebrows raised when they saw the fight's odds. While Elliott has been defeated numerous times in his career, the majority of his defeats have come against top-tier flyweights. And while he is 38 years old now, he's not long removed from a win over Tagir Ulanbekov, who's making some noise in the flyweight division. But what do you think? Do you see Elliott pulling off the upset at UFC 319? UFC updates. Let's take a look at some UFC and fight updates. UFC CEO Dana White has gone on record stating that the UFC intends to hold fewer events in the Apex facility moving forward, which was welcome news to a lot of fans. But it seems pretty clear the facility is still front and center in the promotion's plans. Case in point, recently, UFC Chief Business Officer Hunter Campbell told LVSportsBiz.com that the promotion plans to expand the Apex to accommodate an additional 5,000 to 10,000 fans. This doesn't necessarily mean the UFC is reversing course and is not going to be holding more cards on the road, and you could argue that by having more fans in attendance, it won't seem like the Apex cards we've come to know. But what do you think? And speaking of the Apex, Miles Johns dropped a split decision to Gene Matsumoto at UFC Vegas 109 on Saturday. It was clear that Johns didn't agree with the decision immediately after it was announced, and following the fight, he posted this angry statement.
"I don't know, guys. I really thought that we won that fight. I thought that the takedown in the third round secured the deal. When the fight was over, I was not nervous. I thought that we had for sure won. But it is what it is. I think the part that makes me the most upset is that our life is literally in the hands of these dumb, flippin' judges who do not know what they're doing. And they don't understand, like, I got 4 kids, I got mouths to feed, and they're sitting here making bad decisions that is when a lot of money is on the line, and they're not held accountable at all. Like, nobody's gonna have to go back to them and tell them, show me why you picked this. The one judge that had me winning the fight scored Matsumoto for the first round and me for the second and third. Matsumoto won the second round, but I won the first and third round. But like I said, it is what it is. I'm not going to sulk on it. I'm going to get right back to work. I can be happy with my performance knowing that we're getting better, and I can just put the finances in God's hands, and hopefully I'll get back in there soon. But I appreciate all the support and love, and talk to you guys soon.
Did you think Johns won that fight? In the main event of UFC Vegas 109, Anthony Hernandez pretty much ran through Roman Dolidze. In doing so, he extended his winning streak to 8, and it's certainly looking like the rising star is headed for the title shot mix. While speaking to the media afterward, here was some of what Hernandez had to say about his next fight, and the news that he's been tapped as the alternate for next weekend's Dricus du Plessis-Khamzat Chimaev bout.
I don't give a who I fight. Yes, I'm serious about that. I don't give a who I fight. I think it'd be cool if there was like a contender BMF belt or like something like that, but I want the title. That's the only reason I do this for, is to get that money and change my family's life.
You're going to Chicago. Is that something UFC said to you, or is that something you're...
No, I just was told that in the back right now, that they're going to fly me out, so I'll be looking forward to that.
Who do you want to see Hernandez fight next? And recently, AG Fight reported that strawweights Jacqueline Amorim and Mizuki Inoue will fight at UFC 321 October 25th. Amorim submitted Polyana Viana in April, and in doing so, extended her winning streak to 4. Inoue, meanwhile, has not fought since September 2023, when she recorded a unanimous decision win over Hannah Goldie. Inoue has gone 3-2 in her last 5 outings. Jon Jones has a better chance of coming back than Conor McGregor. Both Jon Jones and Conor McGregor have said that they want to fight at the UFC's White House card next year, and it's been reported that both men have returned to the promotion's testing pool. But Matt Brown is pretty skeptical that McGregor will put on the gloves for one more UFC bout. The fact that both Jones and McGregor signaled that they want to be part of the White House event made headlines, not only because both men are big names, but because most people had closed the book on either of them fighting again. After all, Jones announced he was retiring not long ago, and McGregor had said he's more interested in making a run for office than fighting. There's also the fact that both men are continuing to make news for alleged incidents, which also muted talk about them fighting anymore. Well, recently Brown was asked who he thinks is more likely to actually fight again, Jones or McGregor. Here's some of what he had to say. My pick is there's a far greater chance we get Jon Jones fighting again. His whole retirement, quote unquote, was it really a retirement? He's playing the game and he's an interesting guy. He's a bit of a wild man. I'd say a wild card, wild man a little bit. So I don't know if that was really retirement. Conor never actually retired, but he's basically retired. And Conor also, I think the only chance of him actually coming back is if he's not self-aware. Jon Jones can do all this stuff and come in and beat Daniel Cormier. Conor McGregor, he's a special guy too, but he's not a Jon Jones special. Matt Brown also cited how much more money McGregor is believed to have in comparison to Jones, as to why he thinks Bones fighting again is more likely. While Brown understands that Jones is almost certainly a multimillionaire, he did know that one more fight could increase his net worth substantially. While for Conor, it would be more like a few drops in the bucket. But what do you make of Brown's prediction? Steve Erceg talks about doubts heading into recent UFC fight. Steve Erceg may have been in a must-win situation at UFC Vegas 109, and the former flyweight title challenger delivered a victory. But after the key win, Erceg admitted that he had some doubts heading into the contest, after Erceg surprised many in May of 2024 by taking Alexandre Pantoja to the judges' scorecards before losing via unanimous decision. The Australian dropped 2 more fights to Kai Kara France and Brandon Moreno. Initially, Erceg was supposed to fight fellow contender Alex Perez next, but ultimately, Ode Osborne stepped in on short notice to face him on Saturday. Well, Erceg went on to snap his 3-fight losing skid by recording a unanimous decision victory. But while talking to the media afterward, the 30-year-old reported that he was battling some doubts leading up to the fight. Relieved, it's been a while, so it's good to be answering questions again after the fight. There was heaps of pressure. Obviously, you have doubts running through your head like, was I a fraud all along? Do I really belong? Do I deserve to be here? All that nonsense. It's good to fight a tough guy in the UFC who has been here for ages and get a tough win. It'll be interesting to see what comes next for Erceg. Not surprisingly, he was asked if he hopes to jump back into action at the UFC September 27th card in Perth, Australia. I think I can turn around. You never know, but I think I can at the moment for sure. That's the plan. Who do you want to see Erceg fight next? Heading into this weekend's action, he was ranked number 10 in the UFC's flyweight division. The MMA community reacts to end of UFC pay-per-view, plus the new $7 billion deal. This morning, we got some huge news that will change the UFC forever. Dana White revealed that the UFC's pay-per-view model is gone. and the UFC has officially signed with Paramount Plus for $7.7 billion for 7 years. The new model starts in 2026 and will feature 13 numbered events and 30 fight night events. It's also important to note that this deal is for the US only, and the UFC still has open negotiations for its global deal, which Paramount is also interested in as soon as they become available in the future. Dana White released the following statement about everything. This historic deal with Paramount and CBS is incredible for UFC fans and our athletes. For the first time ever, fans in the US will have access to all UFC content without a pay-per-view model, making it more affordable and accessible to view the greatest fights on a massive platform. This deal puts UFC amongst the biggest sports in the world. The exposure provided by the Paramount and CBS networks under this new structure is a huge win for our athletes and anyone who watches and loves the sport. Then, TKO COO Mark Shapiro explained why the UFC ditched the pay-per-view model. The pay-per-view model is a thing of the past. What's on pay-per-view anymore? Boxing? Movies on DirecTV? It's an outdated, antiquated model. So it was paramount to us, forgive the pun, where it's one-stop shopping, especially for our younger fans in flyover states. When they find out, wait, if I just sign up for Paramount Plus for $12.99 a month, I'm going to automatically get UFC's numbered events and the rest of the portfolio, that's a message we want to amplify. The MMA community was quick to react to the new UFC deal. Ariel Helwani said, while most fans are celebrating the pay-per-view, and rightfully so, it'll be interesting to see how the UFC handles champions with pay-per-view points clauses in their contracts. X number of viewers, fascinating times. Chris Cyborg said, one of the main reasons my team was unable to negotiate a deal for the Nunes rematch was that we wanted a flat purse. Pay-per-view in MMA has been a dying revenue model for a while the fighter controlled almost none of the variables that make a pay-per-view event successful. Are we sure that's a good thing? What is the UFC's motivation to put on quality cards now? Look at their current model for fight night events. Watered down filler content. At least currently, they're incentivized to put on good pay-per-views. Not anymore. All incentives gone. No more pay-per-view. Sounds too good to be true. This is a massive deal. Even more than $1 billion a year, high bar expectations that were set. I'm curious to know what the Paramount Plus cost will be. But as a whole, this should make fights much more affordable for fans. Congrats, UFC. Just kinda looking ahead, I assume the UFC is going to save Ilia Topuria for the first major UFC card of 2026 to kick off the Paramount deal. Makes sense, right? Biggest star kicking off the new deal, Ilia versus Paddy, that would be a massive fight to start off the new partnership. Luke Thomas said, the UFC Paramount deal is worth more than Paramount. I'll never forget you, ESPN Plus commercial break screen music. So whoever headlines UFC 323 will headline the last UFC pay-per-view. They'll end a huge era of the sport. Crazy if you think about it, man. Dana White after signing a 7-year, $7.7 billion deal with Paramount. Jake Paul said, the hubris from these guys is unreal if you're their partner. First, they talk about getting into boxing with no risk and charging fees on fees from their partners who are putting up the money. Now they are saying pay-per-view is when they have a pay-per-view this weekend with Duplessis and another one with Pereira and another one with Aspinall and another one with every fighter. The UFC now has a clear picture of what the revenue is. No more pay-per-view excuses. Get your worth, boys and girls. The less pay-per-view, the better for consumers and the fighters who actually move the needle. MVP has put on the biggest non-pay-per-view fight since the advent of cable with Paul Tyson, but pay-per-view is not at all. The UFC has not created a true star in the largest pay-per-view market in the world, USA, since Conor McGregor. Just like the movie business, if you have big IP, you have big box office. UFC has created a consistent premium fight product with the best production in fight sports. They no longer have big global stars, but maybe this deal helps change that. Most importantly, this is great for fighter pay if fighter managers do their job right. Dana responded to a fan saying that he will still illegally stream the fights by putting a cat emoji. Dana White is the GOAT for this. And then released the following image on his Instagram story with the following caption, I have a feeling today's gonna be a great day. What are your thoughts on everything? Let us know in the comments below. We have a favor to ask. Help us reach 200,000 subscribers on MMA Zone by subscribing and turning on notifications for daily MMA content. Seriously, we rarely miss a day.